Wham! Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
And good Saturday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to catch our drift. Joining me in studio, Ipsy Ed Bonderenka.
Felicitations and greetings, Gary.
Felicitations. I'd like to meet a girl named Felicity. Yeah. Wasn't she on there was some show?
Yeah, TV show.
Oh, it's the same girl that ended up playing in The Americans Now, whatever her name is. I don't know. Derek, you know who that is? The Americans, that chick.
Carrie Russell.
Yeah, there you go. You must have a crush on her, Derek, because that just rolled right off your tongue, didn't it? Carrie Russell.
Rabbit hole.
Well, I just remember the name, but I never watched the Felicity, but yeah, I just remember it.
You can be honest with me, dude. You're crushing. It's okay. It's all right. We can all have a crush on Carrie Russell. All right. Well, what we do on The Drift every Saturday is go over the news that we put on thedailydrift.com. It's the news
you need to know.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking about Carrie Russell movie I saw once with my wife.
See?
About a diner. She was a waitress, and that's our whole rabbit trail, man.
Yeah, well,
it was a good movie.
We can get into that. Well, let's take care of our sponsor. This, however, is Claves Marina. If you're looking for a boat and you want to get out this summer, buy a new or used boat, 734-426-4532. That's 734-426-4532. Or you can go to clavesmarina.com. That's Klaves marina.com. So they've got
C-O-M.
they've got some great places, great prices, and a lot of great boats. And check them out. They're out there on Portage Lake and Pinckney areas. So check them out.
Wonderful boating environment out there.
Yes. And if you miss the show live, you can always catch it on rednationrising.us. So make sure you're checking that out Saturday and Sunday evenings. A lot of great shows on Red Nation Rising as well. We're also on Spreaker, SoundCloud, and archived, of course, at thedailydrift.com. Yes, exactly right. So, man, I got to tell you, I'm feeling a little epiphany this week.
Ooh.
I've realized that I myself am a force of nature, and I control my destiny a little more than I thought I did. So I'm making some changes in my life.
Will this affect climate change?
Well, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I am the force of nature, dude. I'm going to handle that. No, one of the things I'm thinking about doing is actually selling the Current newspaper. So if there's an entrepreneur out there who would like to maybe get into the newspaper business, you should contact me, 734-629-6010.
I know a guy who owns a paper. I told you about him. He owns
Besides
the Mile
me?
and Eagle. Yeah, he owns a Mile and Eagle.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to hook you guys
Let him
up.
know.
Yeah. Of course, he doesn't have a radio show. If he does, he didn't tell me about it.
Well, you too can sit where Gary sits if you own the Current. Maybe you play your cards right. Maybe that's in the future for you as well. But anyways, call us 734-822-1600 on any of the subjects we're about to cover, and we're going to run through these really quick.
On any of the subjects we're about to cover?
What?
That's the guidelines of calling us on any of the subjects we're about to cover.
Any of the subjects we are about
Joe.
to cover. All right, well, let's start out. Our first here was an update from last week. Now, we covered Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I want to hit this real quick because there was a little update. Derek, you got track one before we move on to the good stuff. Let's talk about Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her illegal activity in Congress. Go ahead.
Former DNC chairperson, Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, may be threatening the Capitol Police Chief for holding a computer as part of an ongoing criminal investigation of Wasserman Schultz's former IT staffer.
With the permission of, through the investigation, and we'll return the equipment. But until that's accomplished, I can't return the equipment.
I think you're violating the rules when you conduct your business that way, and should expect that there would be consequences.
Indeed, there may be consequences for someone, given the state of this ongoing criminal investigation, says Luke Rosiak, who writes about the probe for the Daily Caller News Foundation.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the representative from Florida, revealed that the Capitol Police are holding on to some technology equipment of hers relating to a criminal investigation into her longtime IT aide, a Pakistani guy named Imran Awan. He is suspected of massive breaches of information security and laws and policies surrounding security of members' information. It appears that he was funneling members' data outside of House computers.
And funneling member of Congress data outside of the House of Representatives' computers appears to be what may have sparked the investigation, with Wasserman Schultz's employee, Mr. Awan, as its focus. But the Daily Caller's Rosiak says when Awan's family members became employed by other Democratic members of Congress, it should have raised questions.
Pretty soon, his relatives started appearing on the payroll of other Democrats. So he had two of his brothers both appeared on the payroll. His wife did, his brother's wife did, his best friend did. In all, they collected $4 million since 2010. The thing is, most of those guys were never seen on campus. They appear to be ghost employees.
And none of the 20 or so members of Congress whom these people work for have complained or commented due to the nature of what they point out is an ongoing investigation. Rosiak also notes that House Speaker Paul Ryan has said the Capitol Police have now begun working with outside agencies in this ongoing probe. John Hines, One America News, Washington.
All right, so
Outside agencies.
your tax dollars paying the criminal Democrats to hire these
Criminal Pakistanis.
criminal Pakistanis who are funneling congressional information, secure information outside
To WikiLeaks.
God only knows, but probably to terrorists, right?
Yeah, could be.
Let's be honest. And I think we talked last week that the one wife has already left the country.
Yep.
Went
She's
back
fled.
to Pakistan because she knows she's guilty and doesn't want to go to jail. And so Miss Wasserman Schultz should be in jail alongside her little buddy, Imran Awan.
Mm-hmm.
And let's call it what it is. It's criminal behavior from the Democratic Party. This is just one
Well,
among many.
her hairstyle alone is criminal behavior.
That's cruel, dude.
Sorry.
What, you're just demonizing. Why are you going all Alinsky on her?
Sorry.
Right? Okay, so the big news this week, I just wanted to bring that up because, I'm going to keep hammering old Debbie until we have to. Paris Accord, right?
Yep.
Happy?
Oh, good deal, man. Good deal, man. Promise fulfilled. Thank you, sir.
Promise fulfilled. You people who you never Trumpers can say anything you want. You know what? I'm ecstatic with his performance.
I called into Thayrone a couple nights ago on his show and mentioned that I wasn't comfortable being on pins and needles up until the announcement because his daughter was supposed to be lobbying him to change his mind and just, oh, dear God, please, dear God, please.
Yes.
And then it comes out great, and it's just like, yes.
Yes. And you know what? There you go. He went against his own daughter, his flesh and blood. Why? Because he's an honest man, for crying out loud. Don't you never Trumpers just shut up. He's doing the job that he was supposed to be doing. He fulfilled another campaign promise. I'm happy.
Yeah.
If you're not happy, too bad.
I like the way he did it, too. He did it. He did the right thing, but he didn't go all, and there is no climate change.
Right.
I believe there is no anthropomorphic man-caused climate change myself, and he probably does too. But why bring down the wrath of all? He kept it clean.
He did.
He kept it clean. He says, we're doing this because of economics.
Yeah,
Bingo.
and he's not outrageous about it either. So, Derek, you got track 2. This is part of his speech announcing that he's out. And I frankly thought it was very mature, very calm,
Statesmanlike.
very statesmanlike. Let's go ahead and hear that.
As president, I can put no other consideration before the well-being of American citizens.
Yes.
The Paris Climate Accord is simply the latest example of Washington entering into an agreement that disadvantages the United States to the exclusive benefit of other countries, leaving American workers, who I love, and taxpayers to absorb the cost in terms of lost jobs, lower wages, shuttered factories, and vastly diminished economic production. Thus, as of today, the United States will cease all implementation of the non-binding Paris Accord and the draconian financial and economic burdens the agreement imposes on our country. This includes ending the implementation of the nationally determined contribution and, very importantly, the Green Climate Fund, which is costing the United States a vast fortune. Not only does this deal subject our citizens to harsh economic restrictions, it fails to live up to our environmental ideals. As someone who cares deeply about the environment, which I do, I cannot in good conscience support a deal that punishes the United States, which is what it does.
Okay.
As you can see,
Smiling. Ear to
smiling ear to ear. I'm in Nirvana. Can we play that again, please?
Yeah, it was.
That's my
I
drug
was
of
listening
choice.
to Theron this week too, and he said the same thing. One of his best speeches ever, and I have to agree. Here's a guy, and he, he came out and said, "If you're gonna want to renegotiate it so that it's fair for us, happy to do so." And of course, the Europeans are like, "Oh, there's no renegotiation." Well, you know what, Europe?
Good.
Screw you.
Hey, I'm glad there's no. Thank you.
We have supported Europe far too long. We've given the Chinese and the Russians and the rest of the world everything, and yet they want to punish us. Let me tell you something. When I grew up as a young boy, our country was dirty. Our water was filthy. The Great Lakes here,
Cuyahoga
Detroit
caught
River
fire.
was just dirty, right? Toledo, the Lake Erie caught on fire.
No, Cuyahoga River.
Cuyahoga River,
Yeah.
everything just dirty, right?
Lake
And in
Erie was dead.
Yep, and in the course of a decade, by the time I graduated high school, I spent a lot of time on the Detroit River. That water went from being brown and unable to see an inch into it to being, you could see many feet down into it, and blue and clear, beautiful. So the United States has done everything. We've bent over backward to clean up our country, and yet they want to increase China can polluted. Go to China right now. Put your mask on, folks. I've had friends who just come back from Taiwan, which is the island off of mainland China. They're wearing masks because of the microparticles, they call it.
That flowed in from China.
Yes.
And Japan is the
Dirty?
same way. Yep.
Yes, and they're not making China do anything to clean up their act.
Yep.
And yet we have to take 20% reduction in our CO2.
Or India.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So you know what? The rest of the world, all I can say is screw you. Because I've had enough, and obviously Mr. Trump, President Trump has had enough as well. And thank God for him.
I just want to apologize for any reticence I had before during the campaign of Donald J. Trump. Yeah.
Was I right?
Yes, you were right.
All right. I like hearing that. All right. So let's hear Rand Paul, who I always think of as a pretty common. I don't agree with him on everything, but he gets put on with Jake Tapper, and of course Jake Tapper. Not a journalist, just an agenda. Pushing, if you see the whole interview, and I've got it at thedailydrift.com, go see it. We're going to play a snippet of it. You got the first part of that, Derek? Let's listen to Rand Paul battling this idiot, Jake Tapper.
Rand Paul of Kentucky, he supports withdrawing from the Paris climate deal. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. We anticipate that President Trump is going to announce not only that he's withdrawing, but that he does want to have a better climate deal. What might a better climate deal look like?
Well, first, you wouldn't lose 6 million American jobs. You know, I think one of the reasons President Trump was elected is that he promised that he would defend the American worker and defend American jobs. There are estimates that this agreement, which is unfair and punishes America in a much greater fashion than other countries, that we would lose 6.5 million jobs. Meanwhile, countries like India and countries like Iran, we would have to pay them to reduce their carbon emissions. I can't imagine a worse agreement than this thing for the American worker. But I think this is something that President Trump promised the voters. He was going to keep American jobs here, and he wasn't going to sign crazy agreements that don't have our best interest at heart.
Where would these, I don't know what study you're referring to, Senator, where would these 6 million American jobs come from? It seems like a rather dire prediction.
Well, they're in the energy industry.
Glaciers.
A lot of ours have been lost in Kentucky. We've lost, nearly 90,000 jobs in the coal industry because of excessive regulation. So if America, under this accord, has to reduce her carbon input by 20%, but China doesn't have to reduce their carbon footprint at all, how could that possibly be fair? Who in their right mind would sign something that says China doesn't have to do anything and we have to reduce? When you reduce your carbon footprint, it means you're going to have to reduce your energy output, or you have to convert to other sources, but there may not be enough energy from the other sources. And so then we're talking about going without energy.
How much
jobs are
should
related
the US,
to American jobs.
How much should the U.S. reduce its carbon footprint?
All right.
Under the accord.
Are we done with that? All right, we're done with that. It's all right.
Why do we need to reduce our carbon footprint? I don't get it.
It's because we're too successful.
Yeah.
We can't be so successful when the rest of the world is pining away. Well, you know what? Stop having so many kids. Stop fighting with each other, cutting heads off. The oldest part of human civilization is the Middle East and Africa, right? And it's the biggest crap hole in the world. Why do they want to punish us for being successful?
I have a clip of John Kerry's response to this. I would like to play it right now.
You got it?
Yeah, it's right now.
Derek?
Me. Yeah.
It's just whining, It's just amazing to me. How about the second part of that, Derek? Can you roll back to the finish up?
And for the American worker that